Welcome to the conversation. We got a great guest for you guys, Jen Perlman. She's running against Debbie Wasserman Schultz in Florida's 23rd district. Jen, welcome back to the Young Turks.
Thank you so much for having me back on.
No problem. So Jen, let's talk about the race. First of all, a lot of progressives have won against establishment Democrats who are already incumbents. The most recent one is Jamal Bowman beating Elliot Engel. So obviously anything is possible here. But I read a story from the Miami Herald about your race, and it actually pissed me off, honestly. I don't know how you felt about it. So let me just ask broadly first. How do you think the media is treating your race?
Well, if you're talking about alternative media, absolutely great. If you're talking about mainstream media, they pretend we don't exist. And actually, that Herald article was gathered under false pretenses with me. They actually have been ignoring us the entire time. And then finally, they reached out regarding this issue with Debbie using my domain name to send direct people to her congressional webpage. So if you type in jenperlman.com or jenperlmanforcongress.com, it goes directly to her congressional page. So the Herald reached out, and so I was talking with him about this. And then, yeah, I heard it wasn't a very good article, but I used to actually work at the Herald a long time ago, and they have fallen very far. That's all I can say.
Yeah, no, the reason, look, I'll be honest, it reminded me of the hatchet job they did on me. Not in the ways that they brought up old controversies, but in a more nefarious way. The whole point of the article is not everybody remember Jen can't win. The establishment Democrat is wonderful and should win is written between every line of that article. And they did the same trick that the LA Times did with me, which is they interview a so-called progressive who says, look, I would love to have Jen win, but she's not going to, so everybody stay home. That's not a progressive. You guys did that on purpose to make it sound like Jen has no energy. The reality is, Jen, you've been backed by brand new Congress, Andrew Yang, Marianne Williamson, and Sunrise Broward, and it goes on and on. I wish I had those kind of endorsements. I wish a lot of the candidates had that kind of momentum. So the mainstream media, honestly, is our number one opponent. Anyway, Jen, about your particular race. So let's talk about what the media doesn't talk about, which is why run against Debbie Wasserman Schultz? What are her problems that the Miami Herald completely and utterly left out of their article?
Yeah, interestingly, that was the better of the articles. The Sun Sentinel actually said, and I quote, that Debbie and I were virtually indistinguishable on the principles. So that was my other newspaper article that was down here. So everybody knows Debbie from 2016 and stepping down from the DNC and the emails and cheating Bernie and all of that, which is all, very frustrating. But as a constituent, she is someone that has been taking corporate money forever now. At this point, I don't even remember her not taking corporate money, and not just any corporate money, but pretty nefarious corporate money. So whether it's fossil fuels, big sugar, private insurance, big pharma, private prisons, I mean, so many different industries that are so counter to everything that the majority of people actually want in this country. So after 18, it just felt like timing wise, there was the possibility of some non-corporatists being able to get through. And that's ultimately what I always said was, one of the main reasons I could never run for Congress is that I can't be bought. And so it never seemed like something that was really viable, but we're seeing that it is.
Yeah. So let's talk about the issues with Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Look, if I was a reporter there, the fact that the Sun Sentinel said that you guys have similar issues, it's insane.
Virtually indistinguishable.
Oh, come on. So, Jen, am I missing anything? Did Debbie Wasserman Schultz all of a sudden say that she's for Green New Deal and Medicare for All and she won't stop until she passes it? Did I miss anything? Did she say that she's definitely for a constitutional amendment to get money out of politics and she'll fight day and night to make that happen?
Yeah, no, she's not for any of those things. And in fact, she wouldn't even meet with members of our local progressive caucus to even talk about Medicare for All. Forget past Medicare for All. She won't even talk about it. She still thinks of marijuana as a gateway drug. She is not in sync with what most people want. And that's what is very important. People think that I'm some radical left person, and I'm not. I'm just trying to bring the Democratic Party back to being actual party of labor and doing the things that most people want done. So, the fact that she doesn't do those things, to me, makes her be an insubordinate employee.
Yeah, I love the way you put that, Jen. First of all, if it's not clear yet where I stand, Jen2020.com is the website. Since Jen does not take corporate donations, you gotta help her out and back her up. We'll put the links down below for donations, volunteers, and help any way that you can. Like, I don't mind if the media says, hey, look, Jen Perlman and Debbie Wasserman Schultz have wildly disparate positions, and it's a really interesting race, and you guys should decide on your own. I don't even mind if Miami Herald and Sun Sentinel says, but we love Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
They do.
Status quo. And I'm positive they'll endorse her. I don't know if they already have her or not. Of course. And in their endorsement, they'll talk about coded language about how they love the status quo and they hope that nothing ever changes, with the exception of Trump. Okay, so I got it. But they lied to you. They lied to you about what's possible and not possible, and that's what drives me crazy. And in radical left, Jen, I look through your policy positions. The great majority of them, 2/3 of the American people agree with. Then I guess those media critics think that the 2/3 of the country is radical left. It's total insanity. But now more specifically about Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she's one of the biggest proponents of the coup in Venezuela. What? Is that because of constituents that are right wing in that district? What is going on? Why is she so in favor of Guaido?
Yeah, okay, so I can only speculate because obviously I haven't spoken with her about this. And so on the one hand, I see it in terms of she's always been fairly hawkish. She's always been fairly to the right, really in a Republican-esque era in that kind of area. And so this isn't unusual. But yes, there is a very large constituency in Weston, which is part of our district, and it's actually where Debbie lives. It's her central part. And there are wealthy Venezuelans, and they actually refer to it now as Westonzuela. And those Venezuelans, and these are wealthy white Venezuelans for the most part, and they are the people, I think that is the niche that she is speaking to when she does this, when she supports Guaido. And I can be very clear that I'm not a Maduro supporter. I'm just it's none of our business supporter. So that's just where I am, and she is, I think, playing to that crowd.
Yeah. You don't want to do an old school coup to get rid of a left wing leader such as he is, and he's got his own massive issues, Maduro does, and just illegally replace him with a right winger. Well, that sounds radical left.
Like by tweeting a new leader.
Yeah. All right. So, in the media coverage, I know I'm obsessed about this topic, but because there's a reason for it. Is anybody who's watching on the Young Turks knows, because unfortunately it dictates so much of what happens in elections, because they can't find out about Jen unless people write about it and talk about it, and that's why we're covering it. And so, do they refer to Debbie Wasserman Schultz as someone who has been a controversial figure because of how she helped Hillary Clinton rig the election in 2016? And by rigged, I don't mean the votes. I just mean simple things like limiting the debates, funneling money towards her rather than Bernie Sanders. These are undisputed facts. So, or do they refer to her as someone who was clearly proven to be corrupt? It's not a controversy. We don't disagree. She rigged the DNC portion, at least, to be in favor of Hillary Clinton. That's not a disagreement. That's corruption. Does anybody ever call her corrupt down there in the media?
No. She has like a free pass down here. Her core supporters. And let me be clear, it's not a huge group of people. We have closed primaries in a gerrymandered blue district. It doesn't take a lot of people to keep her there by design. And so, that's who she depends on, all coming out to vote. But no, nobody here, you would never know there was anything wrong with her. You would never know that she took dirty money. You would never know that she fights against things like, the Green New Deal because she takes fossil fuel money, whatever it is. No, they just like her because the truth is they are white, old, and comfortable. And that was the editorial board that I was talking to at the Sun Sentinel. And when your basic needs are met, everything's fine with you the way it is.
Yeah. No, the establishment media thinks, what do you mean? Everything's hunky-dory. I got a really good job.
Yeah. The stock market.
Yeah. I know, and they wouldn't know corruption if it slapped them across the face. It's so discouraging because some portions of the papers are actually really good. We're fair and we give credit where credit is due. Miami Herald did a brilliant piece on Jeffrey Epstein. In fact, we named their reporter the Reporter of the Year a couple of years ago. On the other hand, their political coverage is abysmal. They just say, hey, make sure you don't vote for progressives. And I'm a neutral journalist. Get out of here. That's total crap. So one more thing. I know Debbie Wasserman Schultz takes tons of corporate money, and that's her defining characteristic. And of course, never covered by the mainstream media. But there's a hilarious thing of big sugar, and I know that that's prevalent in a lot of Florida. But does you mentioned it earlier? Has she done favors for big sugar as well?
Well, they get subsidies. We actually subsidize big sugar, and obviously they're not the only industrial agricultural polluter that we do, that we let pollute our waters and give subsidies. But yeah, I mean, so when you take money from big sugar and then you give them subsidies, it's the appearance of impropriety.
Yeah, maybe they'd pay more attention if Big Sugar was a rapper or something. No, it's actually an industry, and like all other industries, it bribes every politician that it can, and then gets taxpayer money in the form of subsidies and robs us absolutely blind. And corporate Democrats like Debbie Wasserman Schultz are super happy to participate in that corruption. So Jen Perlman, it's a real race. It's a really important race. If Jen wins that race, their heads will spin. It'll rock their world. And next time they vote on any of these issues, including corruption, they might think twice. So Jen2020.com. Jen, thanks so much for joining us on the Young Turks. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on.
On the go? Don't worry, we got you covered. You can still listen to TYT at our new podcast network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, or at tyt.com/podcast.